Hello, everyone. It's Michael Murdad coming to you live again. This is our Friday night spiritual insights with Michael Murdad. So thank you for joining us. So for today, the idea of true intimacy. Clearly, there's an opposite. A lot of people are teaching, seemingly teaching anyway, along the lines of relationships and communication, all kinds of variations of relationships and intimacy. But it's not at all the true version. You can't teach things from a broken mind. You really, we have to understand the holistic beings that we are to be able to teach. You can slice out a variation and talk about it and have some success, but limited success. True intimacy, true sexuality, true relationships. We're holistic beings. Now, in this linear world, science has taught us that if you dissect something, then you can learn to understand it. Whether it's the cell structure of a rock or an entity like a frog. You look at its cell structure, then you learn to understand it. Now, therefore, it's almost impossible for a teacher like me to come along and say, that's the opposite of true. Dissecting and analyzing doesn't do it. Nor does the opposite, which is staying distanced from, almost detached. So not to be overly detached and not connect with something, or overdoing it by analyzing it, literally, microscopically, and so on. That's never happened. When you think of words like seduction or sensuality or orgasm or masturbation or whatever it happens to be related to intimacy or sexuality, they all have negative connotations. Somebody decided, well, let's analyze the body so that we can understand sexuality. First they distanced and just shamed the heck out of it. Doesn't work. Then they thought, well, empirical science, we'll do it that way. That way we're safe. That way we don't get too turned on or too confused and befuddled. So we'll analyze it. And they said, okay, so we've got this nerve and this does this, and it's just biological response. Nothing, no big deal. Physiology, biology, no big deal. So they're saying, you tickle this and it'll give you this. And yet the nerve that's related to orgasm is its interpretation in English means shame. The shame nerve. Or masturbation means to disturb. Or seduction means to draw off center. It's so interesting that the people that seemingly invented, and they think they invented the G-spot, they invented, these things. They didn't invent them. The ancient people of Lemuria, the ancient people of islands, the ancient peoples of just cultures throughout continents, they really did understand sacred sexuality. For example, the Hindu people and people of the Far East very much did. Now there's religions in these cultures too that shamed it, but there are ancient cultures starting from the Far East that really understood what's called Tantra or sacred sexuality. Think of the various names we have for the male organs, the female organs. We even use those words as derogatory put-downs for people. You're such a this and that and the other. It doesn't usually mean anything wonderful. It's not like somebody's just, in a bar spitting on somebody, calling them a sacred spiritual anatomy. It's not like that because there's no understanding to it. The world has, like in many topics, just messed things up. So we have to return to innocence. We have to return to love. We have to return to shamelessness and guiltlessness and judgmental-lessness, on these topics. Now in the Far East, the male anatomy is referred to as the wand of light. The female anatomy, sacred space. So the wand of light enters the sacred space and stirs magic. Just like a wand and a bowl used in magic formula, magic ceremony. It's kind of like that. There's this beautiful symbolism. And it's everywhere in nature. It's everywhere. For anything to give life and reproduce, it involves that stirring. It doesn't literally have to be the anatomy. It could be in plant life and animal life and so on, but also in our imagination. As soon as thought is moving, that's why same gender sexuality could still be relevant. Because as soon as the mind is stirring towards even arousal, then the wand is starting to work. It's magic. Now it needs a receptacle, not always a female receptacle, but a receptacle could be a canvas for a brush to paint. It could be an instrument that a musician plays with the finger, the wand, so to speak. And the male anatomy, which is often called a lingam, wand of light, or the female, a yoni, which is the sacred space. Bringing these two is symbolically, it doesn't have to be literally male and female, but symbolically, this shift, this change, this beautiful space of magic. But we've heard of things called white magic and black magic. Well, then what would black magic be in this regard? It would be when there's still, just because you have a wand and a receptacle doesn't mean it's great. Rape is not okay. And abuse is not okay. But so is also not okay the callousness or coldness. A male has gotten used to, in our culture, in all these cultures of today, a male has gotten used to doing nothing but masturbating inside a woman. No offense, and I don't mean to sound crass. That's just how it is. And it need not be this way, and yet that's the way the world has taken things. Somehow, someone has to speak up, but when they do, if they're males, they're called sissies. They're just too in touch with their emotions, and they're new age guys, and they make fun of us. And if women are in touch with that, they're considered, too picky and whatever, and they're criticized. So what are you going to do? Lose that? Just go back to, frog dissections, and, there we go. There's the, either a coldness, I don't need to know your anatomy, I'm just here for myself. The opposite, I'm a lover, man. I've read the books and I understand the anatomy. So there's people out there, there are guys out there. I've had good friends who have dated guys like this. They're like, wow, aren't I amazing? I'm just like, wow, I'm just buzzing with sex appeal. I've read the books, I know the anatomy. And they do, and they can pull off external kinds of stimulus. And women going, wow, oh my gosh, that guy turned me on. He did something for me. He flipped a switch, but the switch was just an anatomical switch. We're supposed to only get ourselves involved intimately when we're having our soul switched, our body switched, everything holistically. Mind, body, soul experience. That, guys, that's what intimacy is. It's a true sense of connection. Now, I can say that there's also reasons to be, people are afraid of intimacy. There's the cultural shaming and so on. There's religious shaming and so on. There's also such a dramatic amount of lack and neediness and wounding in our hearts and souls that if someone does come along and does meet eye to eye and say, I would really like to be with you, the other participants get very intimidated. Often they'll fall in love with the person for being so kind because it's so different for them. So they fall in love, and that becomes a mess because their neediness is getting hooked, not their soul. And it's not the fault of the person who's being kind and loving and connecting, but the person who's needy and doesn't realize that that's what's going on. And again, that is fairly common, but it also does the opposite. Someone connects with you and it can scare you, make you angry. This is, again, there are so many layers between us and our true sensual self. So many lifetimes and generations, thousands of years of messing this up. So how do we get back to it? And a lot of us would say, well, I'm committed to that. I like this talk, and darn it, I'm committed to that. I want to maintain integrity in my love life and so on. It's easier said than done, because you'll try this out. Lo and behold, you have your standards, let's say. You meet somebody and you share your standards. They're going to do one of two things. They're going to be completely turned off by you having integrity. They're going to split and break your heart and make you go, God, why can't they love me when I'm just trying to be nice? Or the opposite. They're going to see you as a challenge. And they're going to play the game. Oh, yeah, me too. Oh, you do yoga? Oh, so do I. And then you'll say, and I don't want to rush into a relationship. Oh, me neither. They even put this on their stinking online profiles, I guess they call it. Oh, I'm a new age guy. I'm a sensitive kind of guy. I like poetry, and I like just watching the sunset and just being with a partner and just absorbing the moment so that we're like one. There's people out there going, oh, that's what I want. Guys, this is a modern day style of predator, because it doesn't work anymore to go, hey, what sign are you, baby? The gold chain. That doesn't work anymore. People laugh at that. So they had to ramp up the game a little bit, and the sensitive guy of today or girl of today. And so it's a game. So what are we going to do? Give up? No, no, no. Don't even try to make changes if you're not really wanting to make changes. Because if you just try to make them, you're just going to get hooked again and heart will be broken again. Because you weren't really totally committed. You were trying it on like a test drive of integrity, or, increasing the quality, making it true intimacy or relationship. In a nutshell, slow things down. It's great to be passionate. And it's great to have fun and fall in love and go through all that. And it doesn't always look like it's slow and taking time. But really, on some levels, take time. Take time to hold hands. It's really an amazing thing. Not just hand holding, but just understanding what energy is really like. Interaction. Like my conversations when I share with groups or here, my conversation feels like this. It's not like I'm telling you something. It may come across that way, but at any moment that it looks like I'm talking, I'm also always, I share something and then I feel something back. Even when I'm talking to an audience live or online, I can still feel the frequency, the questions that are going to be in their minds. Almost like prophesying what they're going to think about or what they're going to ask. People have asked me when I write books, there's something I do that seems, I guess, unique. Maybe not the only person that does it, but when I write books, one of the ways I'm writing is as though I'm the teacher and the student at the same time. What will they ask? How should I word this paragraph? Because I know they're going to ask this, and then the paragraph wording changes to suit that question. It's kind of a multi-level way of being and living, but it's just how my mind, my soul works. It just happens to be that way. So understanding that, then my talking isn't just talking. And I'm not sitting here in a lab coat going, studies have shown, and this sort of thing, or sounding all cerebral. You'll hear me a moment of what could seem cerebral to a moment of what seems totally sensitive, to a moment artistic, to a moment passionate. It'll shift and shift because we're holistic. We need to hear this from all sides. So when it comes to intimacy, just understanding, even when you're talking, there's a depth. I remember one time I walked into, this is, oh my gosh, 35 years ago, and I walked into someone's office. And even though I was walking into an office to do some linear kinds of things, I was on the phone. And it might have been, I think it was to a client, doing a session, just finishing the session as I walk in. So I walk in with my closing few words, and, be sure to do this and take good care of that, or whatever it happens to be. And then I said, okay, take care, bye-bye. Hung up. So how's it going? Shifted right to the next thing. And this person was like, who are you talking to, if you don't mind my asking? Oh, a client. And this is a linear person, three-dimensional business person goes, wow, you were so tender. Very cool. Very cool that they saw that. I wasn't like channel tender, like I have to work on it. When we love people and ourselves, it just happens. And I don't mean just tenderness. So too does passion and kicking butt in terms of doing a good job at whatever you're doing. It's not always soft and this way and fluid. Sometimes it's this way and powerful. It varies. But we need to learn to embrace our masculine and feminine and bring it into our lives, not just say it. embody it. In what way are you able to successfully be masculine and which ways feminine? But then question, in which ways are you unsuccessful at masculine and feminine? Those are the areas you need to work. Compliment yourself for the areas that you've succeeded, but what about softening and trying things, just relaxing and trying things that haven't worked or you haven't been great at. Just try it out. Soften your approach, and I don't mean you just soften your style externally. I mean your judgments on yourself, and just try it. Well, I'm not good at that. Who cares? If you're terrible at it, you can only go up from there, right? So try it. Just try. Just try and be a male who's really macho and he's in touch with his feminine side when he speaks to his mother, but doesn't know how to get on the ground and play dolls with his kids. Just try it. What the heck? Okay, girls, what are we doing? So who's who here and what would you like me to do? Oh, okay, I can do that, and just play along. Even if they giggle, they're giggling the same as they would at any other kid. So they're not judging you or teasing you. They're just try it out. But in all things, and not to go to the opposite extreme when we fail and get scared like the world has done and overanalyze things because all that does is keep a distance. When we understand intimacy, we enter a space and we begin to dance to where you can't tell, is the water moving the seaweed or is the seaweed moving the water? There's this beautiful dance. So whether it's my talking or whether it's your kid suddenly said, hey, will you play dolls with us? Of course. And then all of a sudden, passionate with a partner, yes, isn't that nice? Yeah, oh, so sexy, oh man, I dig you. You're so beautiful, whatever you're saying. Right? Just fun stuff. And then it can also be getting a job done. Yes, I got to, move this and get this project done, but I never disconnect from it. When I do that project, like just today, it's, okay, Michael, we need you to do sessions. And then we also need you to do a short clip of this, a short clip for that, an advertisement, a commercial break for something, and then your Friday night video. So, here we are, the Friday night presentation. So it's many things. And it's just like become passionate and go for it. Just go. And if you're the type that overthinks things and then you, like, I don't know if I want to do it, you disconnected from it, which is not bad. It just is what it is. Divided we fall. So you're more likely going to get fatigued. You're more likely going to get burned out and disinterested in things. So learning to connect with everything you do and do it well. And if you don't want to do it, then don't even step into the arena. Don't step into the sensual arena with someone if you're not really able to be there. But if you're going to be there, have fun. It's okay. Be sexy. I just think it's the most beautiful thing. Even though they think of it as in the workplace, people being sexist and all these things. And it is. There's abuses in the workplace and in the home place and so on. But it's a shame that we throw the baby out with the bathwater and forget that when we truly love each other and are safe, have a respect for each other, then you can have that fun sexiness. I've told the story many times, but there was, when I arrived at Unity of Sedona almost 10 years ago, there was this older woman. She was African American, very beautiful woman, but I don't know, she might have been 80 or something. I think she was actually pushing 90. And anytime I would walk by her on my way up to the respectable podium to do my, talk sermon, she'd grab my butt. She was always sitting on the edge of the front row, and I'd go by and she'd just grab me. It's just, she wasn't being gross or weird or come on or anything. But it was her playfulness and her aliveness. Absolutely, everybody should have that. I mean, my God, even though we could say, oh my God, that sounds terrible. You wouldn't see that in an average church, would you? But maybe they need a little of that, not inappropriately, because I've also counseled, clients and done intimacy or rather sacred sexual work with people, sexual healing work with people who have been abused by, people in churches. So I'm not talking about sexual abuse. I'm talking about when it's loving and respectful. And some people will say it can't be if it's sexual. That's the problem. To forget how we can grab each other. We could be able to. Just when you say hello to somebody, imagine the squeeze you know? Imagine the squeeze. Imagine how you would hold a lottery ticket. Oh my God, I won the ticket. Well, why can't you do that with loved ones? And why can't you love more people? And I don't mean be in love per se. I'm talking about just love more people. Feel such a passion and an aliveness that says, wow, here we go. Just good to see you. I just think it's fun. I notice that for myself, sometimes I'll tickle someone's ribs if they're standing there, or playfully walk up behind them and give them a hug. Hey, how's it going? And I don't know too many people who have ever felt offense from that, but I'm sure it's had to have happened somewhere where somebody watched or experienced and went, oh my God, But the intentions were never weird, so we have an option. Play it safe, don't do any of it, so that nobody ever misunderstands it or misinterprets it. But do we really want to do that? Everybody, stop doing everything and anything that is affectionate, playful, fun, spontaneous, and then on and on. And then what do we have? Just a bunch of robots. They're no more safer, because you think saying no to all these things actually creates safety and integrity in the workplace and so on. No, it doesn't. It creates a place where everybody's afraid and pretends to be a certain way. But babies that aren't held tend to have a higher fatality rate. And it's the same for adults. You're not suffering an infant, fatality, but what you are suffering from is you're already dead. You're just emotionally dead, physically dead. You're just shut off. Then you're going to be inclined to, whenever you do experience a sensual part of your life, it's often going to be brought out in a way that's not very healthy, acted out maybe in ways that aren't very healthy. So if people could be allowed to be themselves and be happy and hug, and of course, if it crosses a line into come-ons and crosses a line into being sexual contact rather than just playful camaraderie. So look at this. Look at how this culture is. Look at how they don't mind football players slapping each other on the butt. They're working together. Oh, but that's okay because it's guys. So there's nothing to it. Why? How do you know they're not gay? Oh, you're right. We should probably stop that too, just in case. Like, how far do you want to go with it? You're going to make something justified because it's safe enough? I remember a church once said to me, they sent a board president to call me, or I think it was in person, come and speak to me. This is about 25 years ago. And they said, I need to ask you if you're gay. And I said, why? Well, because, some people have commented about how they find you attractive, and we can't have you here, unless you're safe. Like, really? So it's interesting. I won't tell you whether they were preferring that I was gay or straight, but I'm just saying that the very question to me is disturbing, and I didn't go back to that church. Several years later, when all that group was gone and all that board was gone, I went back for a while. But it's so strange that people have this false notion of what safe would be, what integrity is, and so on. The only real safety and integrity is love. True love, which is respectful. It's always respectful. So, I'll say to somebody, hey, how's it going? And, they're sad, and let's say they're crying. I might take their hand, but I might catch on to something and go, wait, I just want to let you know, if my taking your hand is any problem, let me know and I'll let go. Sometimes I pick up on what could become a thought for them before they even think it, that it could be seemingly weird for them. Whatever the case may be, I might hold somebody, hug somebody, and I'll say, you let me know if this is a problem. And a lot of times they'll say, no, you know what? Thank you for asking. Because it then made them feel more empowered to make the choice, and they knew by my asking that it was more honest, more true, and more likely that it was real. That it was real in terms of its intention. So imagine that just like this movement that eventually bonds and connects. First of all, every joint in our body, if it did this instead of grind, it wouldn't have inflammations. It would have grace. Grace. I see no conflict. I feel no conflict. I'm here. How are you doing? Wait, I'm not feeling great. Then let's slow it down. One part of an arm to the other joint, one tissue in the body to another, one organ connecting, communicating with another. Just perfect homeostasis, balance, natural balance in the body. But can't this also be true in a relationship. Hi, sweetheart. How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. How about you? Each comment is one of these, as opposed to, how are you doing? Why do you want to know? Disconnect. It's like, wait, what? Why are you asking? Well, I just meant because I want to know how you're doing. Oh, yeah, like you care. Boom, boom, boom. None of that. Communication is this. So we need to learn, and we're going to talk about that in our course, but healthy communication. We need to learn healthy affection. Permission. Is this okay for you? Great. For me, it's like if you were to give, an artist all that they needed to create a masterpiece, including the inspiration. Just look at what they would do. Wow, look at children and say, we got you your favorite, your most requested gift for Christmas. Here it is. Look at what happens to that kid when they come out of their room and they look at, wow. That's how I feel about life sometimes, and about even people. Just I often feel, wouldn't it be nice to just not have to think at all, which is getting the microscope out to analyze a situation or a comment or a connection or whatever. I find it to be beautiful in the times of my life where I can, let's say, hold a hand of someone and totally disappear into that experience, where I know that they're okay and I'm okay. Certainly there's going to be temptations. Can we do this? Yes. Now can we have more? There's a temptation for one person or another to want more, which is also fine sometimes. But sometimes just start with this and you just do your best to know, what if I give in and do this and let myself go and they want more? Say no. Then if that doesn't work, say no and release. And at the same time, I say no and there was no problem. Wow, we can even go to a deeper level of trusting hold. And this could be a metaphor for lovemaking, communication, or business together, whatever it is. How are we doing in our interactions? And hand-holding, or just getting lost in doing pleasure on each other, oral pleasure and so forth, or lovemaking, and just the beauty. And it doesn't mean we can't, speed up, but notice that I don't lose you. I'm never doing you. I'm not doing you. We're sharing something. And it can be passionate, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay right here with you. And it doesn't, again, mean literally the bodies are always joined in face-to-face contact or all skin contact. There's variations in intimacy. We know that in sexuality and all that. But I'm talking about more in here, in a heart and mind, that my intention is to be connected with you. And that's so beautiful. It's so cool. But again, in our lives, and it's amazing the wave I can even just feel from folks when I'm talking about that. But in relationships and communications, the world's taken this so far the opposite direction. So they learn to analyze or detach, completely detach, or, okay, fine, I do want to connect with you. Let me analyze you. And let me start labeling your body parts. In the Far East, they understood. The Far East, in India, they have images and paintings and so on of molecules and atoms, thousands of years old, and we think we invented the atom, or discovered the atom rather, and discovered the molecules. We think so, but these people had it thousands of years ago. Where'd they get it? Through consciousness, seeing it in consciousness, higher vision. And we think we discovered certain anatomical parts. There's names for all of this. The Taoists have names, and the Taoists go back thousands of years. The Hindu have names for it. The Buddhists have names for it. These people have had this for thousands of years. And we're going to actually think, because we dissected a corpse and looked at parts, we discover them. It's not even alive. Most of the time when they're doing these things, this involves, corpses. And they're, analyzing. It's not even involving living people. You think that I need to cut up this frog to analyze it. Why don't you ask the frog what it's like to be a frog instead of cutting it up and then telling it what it's like? Why don't you, it's the same with trees or anything we do this with. Why don't we ask it? And that's what the ancients did. That's what part of shamanism is all about. So we learn to say, you know what? What's the key word? Connection. You want to understand something? Connect with it. That's what I do with audiences, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying, you folks know. You say, well, Michael, he seems to know what we're talking, thinking. Michael seems to know what we're needing at any time. How? Just connecting. That's all. It's not like I sit and do this psychic, penetration of minds and pull information. It's nothing weird or cool, whatever you want to call that. It's very simple. Hi there. How can I be helpful? And it starts to happen. I just start to feel what's going on. And like I said, we can detach from things to stay safe, because that's what you're trying to do, a false sense of safe. I'm going to detach so I don't have to feel. I don't want to be stirred into feeling love or lust, for that matter, because I'm scared of it. So I pull away. And the other, I'll overanalyze it. And sometimes we use that to act cool. Look at what I know. I read, books. I've met people, it's hilarious. I've met gals who said, Michael, I met this guy and I'm thinking about dating him. He said he was a tantric teacher. I'm like, really? Ask him this one or two questions. He's not going to know the answer, and that'll tell you he's lying. And it's lying. It's game playing. And they're like, wow, and they call me back. I can't believe it. He didn't know any of that. Well, of course he didn't. Because as far as he knows, the only way he can hook up, what they call it now, hook up is through acts of deception. The only real way you can not hook up but connect. See, hooking involves I hook you, I grab you. Connecting is I approach and you meet me. So they don't know how to connect, so they have to hook. And they have to hook with either completely false flatteries of things they don't know anything about, or they do indeed study these things and figure them out and analyze them, and then they do them and succeed in a linear form. If you're linear and dense and shallow enough, you're going to go, wow, that worked. That actually worked. What worked is they stimulated your anatomy, perhaps, or even convinced your mind that they were a good catch or you were a good catch to them. None of it's real without holistic. So when you say, wow, I met this person, this male or female, I met this person and they really did it for me. That's great, but all they did was one level, perhaps a part of the physical level. And once in a while, there might be another piece here and there. I've met people who have said, no, but we really connected emotionally. A lot of times when you're connecting emotionally with someone, it's just because they're as screwed up as you are emotionally. Sorry, but it's true. They're both maybe needy, lonely. Maybe they both had screwed up childhoods, and so and it really is a great potential with those two, because they could say, you two, God, we went through this, let's heal together. Instead, they don't know that often. They often don't know that. And so they develop a false form of a belief that they're connected, when in fact it's just emotional wounding that they share. So that's one form of why we have attraction, similar emotional wounding. I know it might sound like it's very complicated, all of this. And in a sense it is, because there's so many deceptions. So that makes it all complicated to know, do I take the left road or the right road? Somebody sold me a map and said, take the left road. But what I didn't know is they owned all the real estate going to the left road. There were agendas involved. So who do I trust anymore? A different map seller, they're needing to sell one more map to get a bonus at work. Everybody's got these different agendas. So the lack of agendas helps if you really want to connect. Are you going to be immune, completely, void of all that on this planet? No, there's going to be stuff, but you can at least clean it up. Discover true intimacy, true sexuality, true intimacy by taking your time to get to know people, taking your time to be intimate, taking your time. And again, I know there's the fun faster, and that's cool too, as long as you know how to stay connected. I love it. I just love the playfulness. I love people just going, and relaxing. And just, oh my God, the decompression, laughter, the shoulder rubs, or the tickling, or the giggle, is, by going out and having dessert or something. Just being able to do things that are more light and loving and playful and spontaneous, as I said, in a way you could call it childlike. That's what I think is great. But even knowing this doesn't mean I can do that very often, because I have a position as a spiritual teacher. So people can take any of those things as making them special, or making them overly attracted or attached. And that's why for me, when even in my life, when I'm going to want or share something like that, I really have to ask, is that person able to let go? Forget that I'm this or that. Forget that you're this or that. Are we just able to let go and be friends, intimate friends right now? Can we trust just this loving moment? Even if the moment's just to sit back and put our feet up and laugh for a moment. Great, that was really great connecting with you. Male or female. Intimate or just communication, verbal. It's so wonderful when we can set stuff aside. I do that with people of all walks of life, and it's so amazing. And I've had friends that have witnessed that, and they go, wow. But it's all the same to me. Stories I've shared, like I standing outside of a store once, and some guy starts bringing up his pastime of golf and what golfers he likes, and on and on and on. What kind of a cart he uses, what kinds of clubs he uses, what weight of this and that and the other, and what clubs he plays at. I mean, he could have been speaking Greek, so to speak. It wouldn't have mattered, because I didn't know intellectually anything he's talking about, nor am I interested. What I'm interested in, though, is him as a soul. And I sat there, you're kidding, wow. Well, what about this? Is that your favorite club? Has that always been your favorite club? As though I actually cared, because I did. Not for the sport, but for the person. Honest to God. And the people watching went, wait a minute. How did you know all about golf? I don't. Well, then how did you know how to answer this and that? It comes to me. When you care about people, you'll know how to be with people. You don't have to read anatomy charts to be a wonderful lover. Just try to be present. That'll help. Be loving and respectful. That takes you miles in itself. And hearing this person talk about golf, I mean, it was almost laughable, really, because it's such an awkward, funny kind of scene. But what I was doing for this golfer, and what brand gloves do you use? Whatever golf glove, what brand glove do you use? And so on and so on. It's the same love that goes into an intimate sexual encounter, which sounds absurd to people, I'm sure. But I'm saying the love never changes, no matter what you're doing or who you're doing with. It doesn't matter. A sports game, raising your children, cooking food, the same consciousness can be, or awareness can be, put into anything. The form changes, yes. The form can change, but the content, the love, the respect, the integrity need not ever change. And that's what really brings everything together. It's what makes me a holistic person, me being any of us, makes me a holistic person, makes my encounters more holistic, more likely holistic, because I'm tuning into what's needed. You're a massage therapist massaging tissue, or you know how to connect with the tissue, and you can tell. I'm not going to move the tissue. I'm going to connect with it, and then, it's telling me a little this direction, and then back this direction. Hold, release a little, and then the tissue went, because you connected with it and gave it permission to let go. It's like you said, I'm here. I see you, and whatever was there, it can go now, because we're loving each other, this tissue and tissue. We're connecting, and it releases, it decompresses, or unwinds is how I usually describe it. It unwinds. Now, the same can happen when we're playfully doing intimate things. You're stimulating parts of the body, you connect and you play. And sometimes, you do a little of this and that and you forget and you back off a little, but But because you're allowed to mess up, you're allowed to get lost for a second. But as I'm coming to a close, I'm just trying to say what we can do this in any category of life. Even kissing. Oh, people can kiss for a split second and experience the universe. They can kiss for hours, they say, and get nowhere. It's just that way. But kissing alone, if you can really just get lost in that, just like, and you're dancing that dance again. So cool. The problem, I'm kissing. I wonder if my kiss is not. I wonder if they like my kissing. Maybe they don't like. I wonder if I'm doing this. My previous partner said I do too much of this and that. Then you're not really connecting. Maybe you can ask if you're not sure. Instead of wasting time thinking during it, ask, "Oh, you mind if I kiss you?" That would be fine. Can you tell me what kind of kissing do you like most? That sort of thing. I mean, I even ask friends and strangers things about their life just because I love connecting. So tell me about this. And, so you got divorced. So what was the main reason for the divorce? I don't pry, or at least I would not try to, certainly. I would try not to, but it might come across that way. But it usually wouldn't come across that way because my intention is really clear, very pure. I want to know you. How are you? And really, oh, what happened? That sort of thing. I met it was a stranger the other day. Someone introduced me to them because it's a friend of theirs. I'm just a bystander. Said, "Hi there, how are you?" I overheard them say, "My partner passed away recently." I'm just a bystander. I'm not the main conversationalist over there. But just waiting, When the conversation ended, time to say goodbye. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks. Take good care. But then starts channeling. And I'm really sorry, about that. And I know it's really tough. They start tearing up. And then I say a little more and they're starting to choke up a little bit. A brief hug if you need anything or whatever channeling comes through. Deeper connection with people. Knowing just what brings the tear or the pleasure for that matter. Just all of us have this in us. But we've been taught, programmed, and trained ourselves too for defensive reasons to disconnect. Everyone thinks they're separate from God, from themselves, and from each other. The answer, the opposite. Connection. Not separation, but oneness. It's called oneness cosmically, but on earth with people, it's simply called connection. We connect and then we become one. Connect while you're on earth. You become one then spiritually. Anytime you've had unhealthy or disjointed experiences of any kind, conversation, intimacy, or whatever it happens to be, we need to bring that to healing, whether it's through conversation or intimate, work, body work, whatever it happens to be. Bring everything to the light, whatever form the light takes for you. Bring everything to the light. Leave none of this stuffed inside. At the very least, if you have no way to do it, to bring it up, no way to bring it to healing, or you don't know how, at the very least, just start writing about it. And you can write, and after you complete a thought process one night, you can take it and burn it if you like. You can keep a record of it, but I wouldn't tell you to keep a record if you're just going to commiserate around it. If you write it and there's some purpose like, well, I'm going to write and fill a book of my memory notes because my memory wasn't clear about this till now, let's say, and I want to bring this to a counselor, I think that's a good reason maybe then to keep the notes. Otherwise, release it as you go so that you don't get tempted to go, oh my God, again and more, and flipping pages back and forth. This story's worse than that one. I'm not asking you to do it for that reason. It's only for the reason of releasing. So God bless you all. Peace be with you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.